CEO of the Golden Group, we're a strategic planning and business process communication integration company. We do interesting, creative things for businesses, and we help them connect with their audiences. And tonight I'll be playing the role of the business guy, asking the business questions to our artist extraordinaire, Jabee Williams. You know him as Jabee. He is an Emmy award-winning rapper, entrepreneur, and he's involved in a lot of things, including being a partner at the Tower Theater, the curator at the Douglas, and not one, but 2 restaurants coming to the east side soon, right? Because you just announced pizza this week, right?
Yeah.
So this is a man that has a lot of his fingers in a lot of things, but most importantly, Jabee is an artist. He's a rapper, he's a musician, he is a creative individual who has creative ideas. And so what we're going to talk about tonight, I'm going to ask Jabee some specific questions about his approach to creating a career around creativity and being an artist. I'm going to translate that back into what it means for businesses and business decision makers. And we're going to play both sides of the artist and business conversation. It's not just the 2 of us talking, it's you guys too, okay? So you don't have to wait to the end of the Q&A. If there's something we say you like, jump in. If there's something you say that we say that doesn't make sense or you want to hear more about, jump in and ask the question. Let's just have a good fluid conversation for about an hour. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Good? Okay, cool. So I have a couple of questions specifically for Jabee to start, and then we'll flow from it and see what happens from there. Let's start with the easy stuff. I know you started performing when you were young, but at what point in your life as a young person did you understand that artistry and creativity and music and performance was what you wanted to do?
What I wanted to do, probably whenever I probably got made my first dollar off of it, because growing up, I've always been into music. Like I wrote my first rap when I was 7, but at 7 you aren't thinking like, I'm gonna make a living off of this. It's just, you just enjoy it, So it's always been a passion of mine, and I've always loved it. But whenever I, started to make money or paying me to do it, and I realized like, if I would do this, work on this the way I work on a 9 to 5, so that means, when I had a regular job, then I would clock in, and from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. I was working, at a job. So I decided like, when I wake up from 9 to 5, I'm doing everything like this is my job. But if it's meeting people, if it's sending emails, if it's writing music, if it's in the studio, everything I have to do, I have to, treat it like it's a job.
So you took a business mentality
Right.
to your career.
Right.
So you were an entrepreneur before you probably knew what an entrepreneur was.
Right.
I have a similar story. I'll fill you on that. So you were every day putting the hustle in on making yourself a potential artist and crafting a career about being a musician and a rapper, the same way people were figuring out how to have a corporate career, right?
Right. I would clock in when I woke up in the morning. I was clocking myself in, and I never clocked out until the job was done that day. And if just with everything I did between that time, it was devoted to music. It was music was my job. So I just made sure that I was always in front of a computer, always in front of people, always talking to people. Even if it meant get on the road and traveling, I was always doing it because I wanted to. I feel like people should be able to live off of their passion, and my passion is music and people. So I wanted to be able to make a living off of that and take care of my people.
So you took more of a business approach to crafting your creative career, but you've also taken a very different career path for a musician, for a recording artist, because you didn't go straight for the big record deal, right? Everyone thinks, right? You put out the first demo, you get signed, you get the big deal, and then it's all set, right? You took a different route, a lot of independent stuff, a lot of solo, and so what was your mindset, and how did you come about figuring out how that worked better for you and what you were trying to pursue?
I think just realizing that music is kind of like the NBA. You have the NBA, and you have we'll say 20 teams probably. I don't know off the top of my head. We'll say
34 teams.
34 teams, right? So you have 34 teams. Each team probably has 11 or 12 players. Then you have college. There's hundreds, if not thousands, of teams. And each of those teams have 14, 15 players. And you got high school, and you got thousands and thousands of teams. So if you think on that level, you think thousands and thousands of people are competing for a spot that's big, that big.
Right.
You have to figure out other ways to get there. And the same is true with music, and especially now, there are thousands and thousands of people who feel like, music is what they're supposed to be doing, whether it's their passion, whether it's, cool, whether it's a fad, whether it's, they just like something that they just want to try out. I get calls every day from people who never even were thinking about music, wanting to do it, you know what I'm saying? But, so whenever I understood that, I just had to figure out ways to get there, knowing that, I'm one in a million, knowing that, it's not going to be a straight shot, knowing that it's going to take longer, I'm going to have to work harder, I'm in Oklahoma, how can I leverage that, you know what I'm saying? How can I make being a kid in Oklahoma where urban music, hip hop music isn't even, a secondary market, you know what I mean?
Right.
How can I make, myself stand out when, I have all those things against me? And so, what I did was, I started to talk about where I'm from, because I would, if, for instance, whenever I would go to LA or go to New York or wherever to do music, there would be rappers who were better than me, but none of them from Oklahoma. You know what I'm saying? So it's a different story. So I would do things like that and use things like that, to my advantage, because not everybody can, tell that kind of story.
So for you business people in the room, we're not competing against everyone, and your audience isn't everyone, right? You have to position and differentiate your business in order for it to be successful. It's exactly what JB did. He did not try to be the greatest thing to everyone, but he tried to find what made sense for him and a path that he could take that was the path of least resistance. Mm-hmm. He also took what some people would say is a disadvantage, living in Oklahoma, and made it an advantage. And so, in business we talk about we do those SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities and threats, right? There are things that are always in your weakness category, the things that you have control over and things you don't. You didn't have control that you lived in Oklahoma, you grew up in Oklahoma. But instead of letting that be a negative, you made it a positive. And so there's a business lesson in that. There's a career lesson for sure, but a business lesson in that. And then the last thing you said, this is the thing where I think sometimes business people fall down, artists are really good at it, business people fall down, is that you stay true to yourself and who you are, you're authentic, and then you have passion for it. And so in business, it's easy to say we're gonna open McDonald's, right? Because it'll make money. But if you don't have passion for that,
right,
then it probably isn't going to make money. It might fail, right?
Right?
So authenticity and passion are the two things that business people sometimes fail to latch onto because it seems like it's not business. It seems like that's creativity and artistry is having passion for something.
Right.
But especially small businesses, right? Especially entrepreneurs, we have to latch onto things with passion, or else we're not going to get up and work 20 hours a day to create the small business. We're just going to get a job somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
The same way you were clocking in every day
right.
as an artist and as a musician.
Right.
So look, there's always business lessons in everything.
In everything,
right? So again, I think you were an entrepreneur long before you knew that you were. But now you are. You're in the game. Talk a little bit about how the partnership at the Tower came together and what you're doing over at the Douglas, and then definitely whatever you can tell us about those potential projects that are coming up on the east side with the 2 restaurants.
Okay, with the Tower, so I did the grand opening show at the Tower, and I didn't know at the time that the owners were having issues with the current operation company, and so I did the show, and the show was awesome, and the owners liked how I, represented the tower and how, how well the show went, and I guess, how I handled my business, because there was a lot of things that went wrong for me, that I didn't do wrong, but went wrong for me with that specific show that, it was a learning experience, and it could have been an opportunity for me to react in a certain way, and I didn't,
A new space like that, I'm sure there's a lot of bugs to get rid of.
Right. Yeah. And so, whenever they decided to change the operations company and the ownership of it, then they were having a conversation, and one of the owners brought me up, and they were like, we should bring Jabee on this meeting, and I went to the meeting, and they handed me ownership papers, and it was I don't know if anybody knows my story, but I'm from the east side. We were homeless. I've never owned anything in my life. You know what I'm saying? So it was just crazy to go from all these years of trying to become something, I guess, to somebody see that in me and say and the cool thing is that all I need to do was just be me, so
that authenticity again.
Yeah, so that's that's really how it's just a blessing that they felt like they wanted to give me that, so they gave me a percentage of it, and so from there we started working on the tower, and at the same time the auditorium at the Douglas is being worked on, and they got it redeveloped, and so a lady who was in charge of it came to the tower and asked us if we would like to help with the operations. And so two of the main guys who actually work at the tower, they were like, we're busy, we can't do it, this isn't gonna make money. It's because the main component of this auditorium is the community. So it's not a moneymaker, which any concert music venue isn't a moneymaker, just so you know.
It's true. No, it's true. Right. Art galleries, concert venues, yeah.
Yeah. So this one, in its design, is even less of a moneymaker, more of a hill to climb, because the major component is giving back to the community, which means you don't really make money. And so, like I said, when I went, I remember that school growing up. I remember being a kid, like sneaking in it, you know what I'm saying, like all that stuff. And I grew up around there. We'd always walk over there, play football. And so I was just like, how can I help? What can I do to help? And whatever we gotta do, I'll help you do it. Let's just make sure this is dope. Make sure it's for the people. Make sure that the community gets to be a part of this development. And so she and I, her name is Neela, she's awesome. She and I decided we would work together. So I just been kind of doing that, just helping them out to get on their feet, and it's getting there. So
yeah, so you just put sweat equity in.
Yeah.
And give it back to the community.
Right.
Which, again, like you said, a lot of people would say, there's not money to be made, let's not look. But,
right.
Sometimes taking an opportunity, taking a chance on something might turn into something great.
Right.
The thing you didn't expect at the tower has turned it into something at the
Right.
Douglas that now could turn into potentially what's happening with these two restaurants. So
Right.
What's up with that?
And so with the restaurants,
and I'm fascinated by this because your restaurant business is hard, man.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. Luckily I don't have the hard part, but so in 2008, I met this guy when I was I was on a tour or something. He ran a clothing line. His clothing line was from LA, based in LA. Like, they were one of the biggest streetwear brands in the 2000s. Like, they were the first people to sponsor Kendrick. They were the first people to sponsor all of TD, Nipsey Hussle, like all of these big West Coast groups and names, they were the first brand to sponsor them. And so I saw one of the guys, I recognized his T-shirt, and I talked to him about it and told him I did music. I gave him a CD, and then he emailed me and said, "Man, you ever in LA? Hit me up. You can come by and grab some gear." I was like, "Cool." So when I go to LA, I might not even have to go. I think I just went just for that reason, pretending like I needed to be there. And so they had this big event. And there was like a line around the block, and I texted him, he let me cut the line I was in and just pull stuff from the shelves, and it was really cool. And from that, we developed a friendship, and he would check on me, and we just got to be really good friends over the years, and that was 2008. And so whenever this development on the east side started, one of the developers met with me. He was like, I really love what you've done over the years on the east. What are some things we could do to do this development right? What are some things you'd like to see? And so my main thing was music, and so I was like, we should do like a dope music store, and but again, like, doesn't make any money.
Yeah, right.
And so
there's a reason we can't find record shops anymore.
Right. And so he and I actually flew out. There's a record shop. He was like, if you could do a record shop, what would it be? And so I showed him this record store in Minneapolis that I like. And so he and I flew to Minneapolis, met with the owner, and he was like, I can't sell records in Minneapolis. I'm gonna go to Oklahoma and sell records.
Right.
He was like, no, thank you. And so we came back, and I remembered my friend in LA, and at the time, like I said, he used to do clothes. He sold his clothing company to another brand, LRG, and so LRG bought him out, and so he started to do food, and I didn't realize he even had restaurants at first, but on his Instagram it was always food, and so he said, "Yeah, you come to LA, man, I got this new sushi spot, we got an ice cream spot, just hit me up when you come." And so when I would go to LA, I would hit him up, and I would go taste his, he had a poke restaurant, and I was like, "Bro, we gotta get this in Oklahoma." And he was like, "Yeah, let me know, we'll see what we can do." And fast forward, I totally spaced out whenever I told the guy about the record store. And so I was scrolling through my Instagram, and I go, why didn't I even think of that? We can put Pokey on the east side. And so we met with him. We probably went there like 2 times. We brought him here, and I said, "Bro, the cool thing about it is out there, the rent for a space to have a restaurant is crazy.
Right.
But here," and he was like, "Why aren't there more of this?" You know what I'm saying? Because to him it was just so cheap. So he was like, "I'll come and do it if you'll be a part of it and part of me on the ownership of it." And I was like, "Man, let's do it," And so that's how that happened.
So someone you met in 2008,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to do business with now, 2018, 2019.
Right.
Patience, folks. Patience and relationships and building and not trying to get that, right? If you'd have hit him up day one for all the gear, money, and endorsement,
Yeah.
that wouldn't work out, right?
Exactly.
You wouldn't be the guy that you're.
Right.
So how's the pizza thing going to happen?
So the pizza thing was kind of the same thing. I'm really overprotective of the east side, just
Sure.
because, to me, I feel like it's always been cool, and people are just now realizing that. And so, and luckily the development group let me sit at the table and, speak my mind. So if I say, "Man, that, I don't think you should do that over here."
Now, how honest were you?
Oh, I'm always honest.
Like,
I'm always honest.
yeah.
So that's how the pizza thing came about. So, because they wanted to do, the initial idea was to do hot wings, and I was like, "Man, we have a hot wing spot on the east side already, and I don't know them, but I know a lot of people, like them a lot, and they're there. So we don't want to come in, doing that." And they were like, "What about pizza?" And so the pizza concept was a partnership with a pizza chain, And and when I said this, I wasn't saying this like, you should have me, be a part of the ownership. I was just saying like, it would be better if it was, not a piece of chain, but something that was more personal. Because if you do a chain, it just, especially in new development, it just looked like big businesses coming in and taking over, And so they were talking, and then they hit me up when we had a meeting. Like, we were thinking about bringing you on as a partner in the ownership, and we still do the chain, but come up with a different name for it, and just tag a chain onto it, and you help with the community aspect of it. And I was like, yeah, like, let's do it, And so the idea is part of what I'll do for both restaurants now is is community outreach. So we'll raise money for the East Side schools. We will have an idea for a buy a meal. So if you come in and you buy a pizza, or you buy a poke burrito, you can throw $1 in or $2 in, and then somebody come off the street, they don't have money.
Just pay it forward.
Right. So just things like that to give back to the community that we're in, because I think that's important,
So again, because JB is authentic to the East Side, grew up protective of it, that he didn't let them just do the easy thing, right? Not the quick, easy thing, and also not trying to do there's a wing stop already. Like you don't want to compete head to head. Find something else that was different, that was better, that made it a better situation and scenario, right? And then now you have to keep it authentic. So you can't let the chain come in and just be big corporate, right? It's got to be what happens on the East Side, protecting the East Side, helping the East Side, right?
Exactly.
That's the whole point of this development, right?
Right. That's the whole point. Yeah.
So authenticity again, and paying attention to the facts on the ground as opposed to a straight business idea. We'll just put a wing spot there and it'll work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Being creative in the approach, but not taking the easy route.
Yeah.
You're also an ambassador for DDI, our sponsor tonight. I'm sure a lot of artists, whether musicians or other artists, would love to understand how getting endorsement and deals like that come about, and maybe some things you should look for that you say, this is a good reason to do it, and some things you might look at and go, that's maybe a reason not to do something.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure you've seen some funky deals too.
Yeah. It's, like for instance, recently I've been getting like a lot of stuff from Reebok. Like, they started sending me stuff, and there have been times where I've like hit people up and try to get stuff free, and get somebody to sponsor me and endorse me. But for the most part, I guess the real support I've gotten from brands or companies have been from them, just watching me and wanting to be involved or help me in some kind of way. So with DD Audio, I never knew they were over here. I know the brand because I've seen it, for years and years, but I didn't know it was even a local thing. And so whenever, I think it was 2014 or 15, my DJ and I were going to Europe for a tour, and it was my first time in Europe, and we were trying to raise money, and just because we didn't know what we need to do, and it was scary, what I mean? So Deanna, who's not here, I met her, I want to say a few years ago, through a graphic design friend at a birthday dinner or something like that. And it's so crazy. I remember meeting her, I'm thinking that she was being mean to me, and that she didn't like it.
That's Deanna.
And
She's like that.
You don't
Yes.
know.
Okay.
That's a sign of endearment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I learned it later on. And so
So you were open-minded. There's another lesson in open-minded.
For sure.
Yeah, so we were just campaigning just for people you know, if anybody wanted to help us with this Europe tour. And so she hit me up and she was like, I work at the audio. We'd love to meet with you and see if we can help you somehow. And that's just how it started. So I came over here and, you know, I talked to her and they were just asking like what my plan was and what we would do over there. And, you know, I guess whenever I go, if they help me, then what do they get out of it? You know, too, which you know, that's one thing I always try to tell people, especially a lot of my friends who rap, is like they hit me up and they go, man, how you get this, how you get that? It's like, man, it's like people have to know that, you know, you're working just as hard for them as they're working just as hard as they're working for you, and
it's a two-way street.
Right, you know.
It's like artists don't want to be taken advantage of, and businesses do too. Like it's got to be a win-win,
exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And so since that day, you know, whatever they need, I help with. If I can do it, if it's a song, if it's whatever, I try to do it just because I know that, you know, whenever they can, they look out for me, you know. And
when I hit up Jabee to do this, he was like, "Yep." Right? He was like, "What do you want to do?" I'm telling him, "Yep. Just tell me when to be there." He was totally all in.
So, you know, I think that was I guess the biggest thing, and that's even to this day. Like, I always feel like I don't do enough for them. You know, like I go on tour, I take their van. I've wrecked their van, and they let me drive it again. You know what I mean? So
that's a good relationship, right there.
Yeah. So
it's a marriage.
So, but I make sure that, you know.
He always leaves it with the tank full.
Actually,
don't know if that's true.
But what I try to do is make sure that I sell them as much as I sell myself. You know what I mean? Yeah. And, you know, if you see my name, you see their name. You know what I mean? Things like that, because, you know, I'm definitely not the biggest rapper, and they can do that for anybody with way more, you know, clout. But I feel like what I do have, you know, it's valuable, and what they have is valuable. So I want to, you know, honor and respect that, and try to, you know, push as hard as I can for them, like I do myself. So if I go on a radio show, I'll make sure I have one. If somebody's filming me, I have on DD audio headphones. You know, if I'm like I was in Atlanta doing a radio interview with Ed Lover and Ricky Smiley, I said we gotta get them in headphones. You know, now Ed Lover wears DD audio headphones.
Oh, that's
you know?
cool.
So just things like that, you know, and he's you know tweeted it and make, you know what I'm saying, like it's just been cool. So I just, you know, try to go out of my way whenever I can for them, because they did it for me. So
right on. So for artists in the room, creatives, that attitude right there is appreciated on the business side. And for business people, our thought process needs to be finding collaborations with artists that allow the artists to do what they do naturally, but mention our business or our entity or our thought with new audiences in new ways. So it's not about businesses controlling. It's not about me saying, okay, we're going to sign this deal with Jabee. You're going to say these things, and you're going to be like, that's not me, man. And me saying, hey, I'm paying you. You got to do it.
I've had that happen.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's where businesses mess up. Is they're like, we got this awesome dude. He's got this influence. We're going to bring him in. He's going to open audiences up for us, and then we're going to make him do our thing instead of his thing. Like, no way. You killed the deal already. So. Yeah. Businesses, we have to look at what artists do, and we find an artist that we appreciate, especially that attitude about wanting to be a win-win and a partner 50-50. Businesses, we have to embrace that, and then not use it for Jabee to go out and sell things for us, but use it to expand our audience influence, to expand our scope to new audiences in new ways, because we're interacting with Jabee the way he interacts, and we don't want to change anything because that ruins the whole process, right?
And I think, you know, for me, I always like for things to be organic. Like it just works. and then everything just makes sense and flows right, you know, and
That's the authenticity thing we said earlier.
and sometimes, you know, like they'll tell me like, if you want to, you can say something you don't want, you know, and I'll say, man, I can figure out a way to say it so it sounds like, you know, it's supposed to sound, and it's authentic for me, and it makes sense for you as well, you know. And you know, there have been times I'm like, man, we should do something different, or you know, I don't like this or like that, but we always try to find a way to make it work so that you know, it doesn't seem forced, and it's real, and it's genuine, and I like it and they like it, you know.
How much do you think modern technology, with internet, with phones, with social media, etc., has made that more accessible and easier for these combinations and collaborations to happen, and for an idea that starts here to come here when you go, and that's cool, but if we do this on Instagram, it should be like this, because people will like it, right?
Yeah.
So it makes that process a little bit better?
Yeah, it definitely does, especially with them, because there are times whenever we'll say, well, for me it works better if I do it on Twitter, but for you guys it works better if you do it on Facebook. You know what I mean?
Right.
For me it works better if I do it on Instagram. You guys do it on Twitter. You know, or you know, you guys do it on email and I'll do it on Facebook. Like it's just there's just so many ways to collaborate to where it just makes sense for both people that are involved, and you know, I think the best thing, I think for me, whenever I do a partnership like this, if I can tell that they're invested, and you know, then it makes me feel a whole lot better about, you know, even if I feel like, man, like I'm promoting the album right now, I don't want to say nothing about my headphones, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, man, we can figure out a way to merge it, you know what I mean? So
one of the keys to marketing right now is content, right? And content is not simple words. It's not even simple videos. So many different things. It could be a song. It could be a sound. It could be a snippet. It could be a painting. It could be a photograph, right? Artists are the original creators of content. It makes perfect sense for businesses to be working with artists in order to grabbing people's attention, right?
Yeah.
And also, it works best when, again, it's adapted per platform and per audience, and et cetera, right? So it's always about who you're talking to and why.
Right.
So tell me this. You've had great success. You've worked with some great artists, yours, Brother Ali, the great Chuck D. We called you the future of rap music.
Yeah.
Chuck D called him the future of rap music guy. How do you keep your head, man? How do you balance like that ambition of that makes me want to work harder to live up to those words, but also how does it keep you from rolling around here saying, yo, I'm the best thing in Oklahoma, what's up?
You know, I probably just because I think probably the biggest thing is just, you know, I know that I have so much more to do and so far to go, and on top of that, I wouldn't be where I am if it weren't for the help of so many people that are around me. You know, so many people have helped me in so many different ways to get where I am, and it would be disrespectful for me to be like, I'm the man, and plus I wasn't raised like that. You know, I think it's common in rap music for people to boast and talk about, you know, how dope you are and how you're the greatest and things like that, but that's never been cool to me. You know, I think that, you know, if you're dope, you don't have to say it. You know, people just know it, and things like Chuck D talking about me doesn't like gas me. It just humbles me, you know, and makes me feel like, man, like now I gotta keep working hard, and I got so much more to do. I can't let these people down, you know.
In business and for artists, there's no such thing as an overnight sensation, right? Every overnight sensation has been grinding for 10 years, right? Mm-hmm. Too many people try to start a business, and 6 months in they go, well, not a millionaire, never mind. You've been grinding for a while, right? Mm-hmm. So how's your grind changed because of your success and what you've learned as an artist, but also changes in technology and opportunities like this? how has the progress happened over the last so many years that it's a completely different game in the music business now than it is when it was when you first said I wanted to do this back as a kid?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is like now I can say no to some stuff. Before it was,
Which is important. You have to say no to stuff that doesn't fit.
yeah, I would just take whatever was thrown at me, and it was because I was trying to get recognition, trying to get my name out there, or I just wanted to be in front of people rapping. But now I don't feel like that anymore. I don't feel like I'll do stuff just for recognition or to get my name out there. I don't feel like I'm there. I feel like I've grown a lot and matured a lot, just in who I am as an artist. To where, even if it's just a packed crowd full of people, it has to still make sense for me, or I can get out there and rap in it, and nobody would even know who I was.
Yeah, what's the point, right? If you're in front of the wrong audience, it's right.
Right. So it just has to.
There's a business lesson in that too. Being in front of the wrong audience.
It just has to make sense. So I'm able to say no to people now. Then with technology, I tell my friends all the time, there's no reason for your music for people not to see and hear your music and know your music is out there whenever you have technology and social media and all these things that you can push music. Not spamming, but in the right way, to where it looks industry standard. It looks like whoever the musician is, or whoever the artist, or whoever the company or the brand is that you like, that got you into this. It looks and it models that same effort. Even if it's not even the same budget, you can still compete with that.
There's no more like hide behind this. We're just in Oklahoma, right?
Right. No more. Like for instance, whenever I've been able to do so many things. I've gone to so many places, and it all started with technology. And social media and things like that, just connecting with people. So I feel like for that reason, there's no reason for people not to be continuously, out there and pushing their brand and pushing their name.
So the flip side, because technology has changed the game, it's made it easier in certain aspects, but you still have to put the work in, right? Effort, hustle, and just live it, right? Like you said, punch the clock 9 to 5. How much is the equation? Just pure effort and want.
I think for me, that's probably the biggest of the equation, just because I'm to the point now to where music is probably only 10% of what I do now. I used to be a kid who I would try to be in the studio every single day and just had songs and songs and songs ready to go. But now I don't record unless it's it's for something, unless it's coming out, and because it's work, it's a job, So when I used to be a kid who had just notebooks and notebooks full of raps, I don't write a song unless I'm writing a song. You know what I mean? So I think that's that. Everything else is the work, is the hustle, is the grind for the music. So that I can get to the point in my life where all I have to do is shut up and be creative. You know what I mean? Like I don't have that luxury right now where I can just sit back and chill and just be creative on that. Take a week off and chill and just let music come to me and just write raps and record all day. I don't have that luxury. I have to continue to work, continue to meet people, continue to learn more things and push myself to get there to that point.
So much like there's not one single path to success as a rapper or as a musician or as an artist, there's no single path to success for entrepreneurs and business owners. We all have different things we have to do. There's no rule book. There's no set way it has to be done. But effort and passion and taking advantage of opportunities when they come up and saying no to things that aren't the right fit, the right scenario, getting in front of the right audience, etc. These are common themes. The other common theme I've said this 20 times tonight, is authenticity. I'm a big believer that businesses, especially business marketing, has to be authentic. It has to come from an authentic place. It can't be a device to trick someone to buy your thing. That's some really terrible tactics. But authenticity keeps you away from going down that path and just trying to make that quick money. You put your life in your songs, good and bad. What's the decision-making process as to how much you want to put out in the world and how much you really want to tell people, especially on some of the stuff that was less than positive and some of it really personal to you and to things that happen in your life?
Well, I think for me with writing and putting this stuff out there, I try to be transparent. I try to be honest, even if it makes me look silly or stupid or like a bad person. But you know, I've learned my lesson too from doing that. You know, like for instance, I have a song called "Don't Love Back," and I say something about one of my daughter's moms, and like.
Did you have to put in another song that you shouldn't have put down in the first song?
Yeah. So I mean, you wake up at 5 in the morning, you'll get a text. Oh, so I'm dumb, huh? You know, it's like no, you know. And then on top of that, like because I have kids, you know, I don't want them to ever hear me talk about their mom like that. I want them to ever think that that's okay. So I like I said, even if it makes me like a bad person, like I've definitely learned my lesson. Another thing is like you know, I talk about growing up a lot, and you know, like my mom and dad, there are just certain things that I won't say about my parents that I wanted to say, just because I know, you know, one day somebody might meet my mom or meet my dad, and I don't want them to look at them and have that, you know, that image of, you know, something that I said, you know, that happened. But I still talk about those things, but you know, I try to package it so that you know, my parents can, you know, still be, you know, can still be honored in that, in a way that, you know, we've overcome some of the things that we've been through, that I've seen growing up.
So a lot of business people get a hustle and grind attitude, right? Especially entrepreneurs. It's all about go, no sleep, grind, beat it up. But then, you know, you have your health to figure out too, right? And I know there was a period of time where you focused on your health.
Yeah.
Lost some weight, got in shape and things like that. What made you decide to do that? What was the catalyst? And then your process, like how did you dedicate yourself to it and make it part of your lifestyle?
Really, that's why I was late today. I went to the gym, that's why I was late today. But really what it was, you know, I know that people are always looking at me. And, you know, I know that, you know, I'm always taking pictures. So there was a couple things. So one time, so the first thing was, I was in New York, and there's this really famous photographer, hip hop photographer. His name is Photo Rob, and he's taken like some of the biggest, most memorable hip hop pictures over the years, you know. And I was on tour in New York, and he hit me up. He's like, I want to do some photos with you. And so we did a photo shoot, and I had one of my friends with me from Chicago, and he's a young kid, skinny, and like, you know, I like at the time I was probably like 260 pounds, and so he's like my homie, he's like bouncing off the walls, and you know, being young, I'm like, you know, can barely get around, and so I looked at the
Touring
pictures.
is hard,
Yeah,
right?
So
Being on tour is hard.
Yeah, so I got the pictures back. I looked at myself, and I didn't. It just made me sad because I looked unhappy. I could tell. I remember how I felt, and my face, my body looked how I felt that day. And I had a 2-3 hour photo shoot with a famous photographer and couldn't use any of the pictures, you know. So there was that, and then you know, my album Black Future was about, you know, life and future and, being around for the future. And I just, my blood pressure was really high and I wasn't healthy. And I said, man, like how can I talk about these things if I'm not living it? How can I speak about these things if, if it's not real to me? So whenever I started recording that, I was saying I recorded most of it in Arizona. And so whenever I got there to record, my plan was, I knew I would be gone for 3 months. So my plan was to come back to Oklahoma, skinny and in shape. And so I had been there for a whole month and hadn't worked out one time. I was still having to bring, cupcakes and Coke to the Coca-Cola to the studio.
Let's get skinny and do that.
That stuff, yeah, Coca-Cola will make you fat.
In the studio, and so I had been there and I hadn't done what I said I was going to do. So what happened was, this is the third thing. What triggered me is I would get on Facebook to interact with my friends who were still here in Oklahoma, and they had like a message, like a whole thread going on. Like the rappers were like kind of battling in this thread, and so I said, man, wait till I get back, whatever, something like that. And they started talking about my weight and on the deal and like posting pictures of me and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, I got something for y'all. So that day is what started it. Like seriously.
And that was it.
Yeah, that was it.
So now how do you maintain?
It's hard. It's not easy, but I try to watch my weight. I know I can tell whenever I've gained weight, so I watch my weight that way. I try to if I eat out, I'll try to eat a healthy option or not eat out. I cook more, but I still like to eat, and when I travel, I like to eat and try different food and stuff like that. But
because you have a food Instagram.
Yeah.
He's not just a rapper; he's got a food Instagram too.
Yeah. So. So it's important. People always go, "How you eat and still stay skinny?" The thing is, I never feel like I'm skinny still. So I just try to, always be mindful of that. If I've eaten a lot on Monday, then I won't on Tuesday. But I try to work out at least 5 days a week for an hour or 2 hours if I can, because it's just important, not just for my weight, but just my health, and my heart and skills.
That's one of the things a lot of us in business we fail to take care of our health. I'm bad at that too. I barely sleep ever.
And that was another thing. Now I get up early. I'm up, some mornings like 6 and 7 o'clock. Before, I couldn't get up in the morning and everything. So I'm able to get more done now during the day because I'm up earlier and things like that, and I don't feel as tired during the day. Even if I work out, after that I feel more refreshed and like ready to go for the day. So
right on. So you incorporate it into your lifestyle. We have not had any questions from you guys, and I'm kind of sad about that. So we've had some snide comments.
He had his hand raised.
I did earlier. So I did have a couple of questions. One of them was, are you still teaching?
Yeah, I teach at ACM UCO at the Academy of Contemporary Music. I teach a course called Hip Hop Studies. I was teaching a high school. I was teaching music at a high school, but an alternative school, but they closed that school down last year. But I still teach at the college in the fall.
The man of many talents. Any other questions about music, being an artist, or how these two things could and should intersect?
How does your creative process with what you're developing, you got to work towards a payoff to some degree, and then I hear all this Spotify stuff. It's difficult for newer artists, right? Fleetwood Mac's made their money. How do the new folks?
It's different.
How do you
right?
do it? It's different.
Yeah, it's
right?
different. So what I tell my friends all the time, like, 'cause when we put our music out, you can make money from iTunes, But for streams, which is what Spotify is, you literally have to have millions and millions of streams to start seeing, a lot of money from it. The good thing about Spotify is that people can listen to it for free, and they group you with different artists, based on people who listen to certain music, and your music can always jump in somewhere that it normally wouldn't have, and somebody can be listening like, oh dang, who is that? You look it up and it'd be your music. So it's good for that reason. I think for artists like me, I try to make money in different ways. I definitely make money from music online, but more so from selling it. So I try to push people to buy albums on iTunes or things like that, because it's just it's hard to compete with people who are streaming 30,000 and 40,000 a day. And it's hard to get your friends to look at you like they look at a J. Cole, to see you, to get excited about your music, like they get excited about somebody else or Kendrick who's coming out. It's hard to do that, because I have friends, I'll drop an album, and before that they're going, let me know your album drop, let me know and I'll be like, album drop, and and the crazy thing is like I get a spreadsheet every quarter of how many sales I've had and things like that. So if somebody told me like, I got your album, I downloaded your album, like I didn't have any sales that month, I know you didn't, right? You know what I'm saying? But
Digital is good for that.
But back to the point I was trying to make is that I'll have friends who will say things like that, and let Kendrick or somebody like that drop. You would think they were their best friend while they promote them. And I try to tell them, listen, man, Kendrick and these fools don't need your help. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? It's true. That's true. He doesn't need your help, but I do. You know what I mean?
Buy both of them. Buy both those albums. I'll give you an example. I heard a song on a podcast I listened to by Gary Vaynerchuk. The thing about Gary is he credits all the artists that he puts their tracks on the video portion of his podcast. And so I heard it, I was like, man, this is a cool song. And he had the credit and their Twitter handle. They hit their Twitter handle. It's a band called Foreign Air. I don't know if you know them. And I listened to their album, and it was really cool, and I bought the album. So they gave Gary, because he's a big time dude. He's got millions of people watching his show every day on YouTube and on iTunes. But they gave him that track for free because he credits people. So it was good. It was a good relationship. It was a good collaboration. He got a cool track to go behind what he was doing for that day, but he got it because he gives credit and gives links, and those artists get an opportunity to sell off of it. So it's just different. You have to find different ways to create opportunities for yourself.
That's what I was going to say. And so there's that way, but what I try to do is I try to create, different things for people to buy. So, if I put out an album, I'll try to have something special about it that's not like everybody else putting out an album. So for instance, for Black Future, I released it in a white vinyl, limited edition white vinyl. I've done, I'll do like cassettes, I'll do lathe cut vinyls, I'll do just different things to kind of set myself apart. So it helps to create the value in my music that, the average person can say, man, this is different, I'll check it out because of that,
So for my business people in the room, differentiation, focus on your audience, not trying to be everything to everyone. That's how you create opportunity. So, and that's kind of where we started. So I'm gonna wrap it up there, but I see another question to that. Come along. Go ahead.
Well, I wanted to commend you on your humility and.
You gotta be talking Jabee now, not me.
I am. Yeah, I know. I talk about it. No, your you're humble and yet you're confident of who you are, and people, when you're a business owner, often mistake that they can't be in the same body, that you can't market yourself and your business and be a humble person,
Yeah.
like, and it's not true. I mean, one's your business and one's yourself. So kudos to you for that. I think you've done that really well obviously by how you live and how you just help other people and stuff. I agree with Kyle on the working with other companies and stuff. I think that's awesome because companies who see the value in other people instead of the competition, see where you can build each other up, even when you are competitors. I mean, maybe you work with other rappers or other musicians that you can actually help each other and build each other up and just seeing the other business's perspective.
There's a lot of collaboration in music these days,
This is
right?
my friend Trip G. He's a rapper. We collaborate all the time.
But you're right, Lauren, that businesses need to have a better attitude about the way artists do. Like 10 rappers might get together and put a tour together, right?
Yeah.
And do a show or do a record, or you might jump on someone else's track, and promote their album.
Yeah, and that's helped me a lot too. Locally and nationally, collaborating with Trip has helped me with. He's a great producer. And so he'll produce a whole project for me, or he knows how to engineer and record music. He'll record. He's a great performer, so I have a venue. I make sure he performs at the venue, things like that. Just looking out for each other. Also just being fans of people. Also, like for instance, when I went to Europe, the group that brought us out was a group that I was a fan of, and I heard this song in 1998, and I was just on Twitter one day, and I saw one of the guys in the group, and I said, man, I would love to tour with y'all one day. Man, that's so crazy. They were promoting their tour, and so I got an email 3:00 in the morning, and he was like, I'm gonna have my agent hit you up. We checked you out, we like your music, and my agent hit you up. And I was just somebody who was a fan of theirs,
Now the important thing is you didn't answer him at 3:15 a.m. You waited until at least 9.
No, I answered them right away.
It's hard to get.
You jumped on that opportunity.
Well, that's one thing I will say, especially, I don't know how it is really in business, but I know I knew that we were on a different time zone too. So I knew if he was hitting me up at 3, it probably wasn't 3 there. But I hit him up right away because there have been times where I've missed opportunities because I didn't, respond right away. I always reference, me being on Sway in the Morning, and if you guys don't know what Sway in the Morning is, it's a big Shade 45 radio show. Shade 45 is Eminem's radio station, and it's on XM. And so I've had friends who have been on that show before.
And Sway's been on MTV,
he's
movies, he's
everything.
everywhere in hip hop.
And so the way things work usually, I don't know how it is with business, but with rappers, people don't like to share things like that. So if I have a friend who's been on Sway, and you go, man, how you get on Sway? He's like, man, you probably just, you know what I'm saying? They don't want you to do what they did, So I don't ask, I always try to wait for my time to come or create my opportunity. So I'm at South by Southwest, and Sway walks in the event, and I'm like, I gotta talk to him, and it's a loud rap show going on. He's in the DJ booth, and I'm watching people go up to him and get turned away. I'm thinking, dang, and he's like, I ain't trying to hear that, People trying to get me, I don't take CDs. I'm watching them do that. I'm like, man, what do I do? And so I took my phone and I opened the notes and I just put, my name is Jabee, I'm from Oklahoma City, Chucky likes my music, I want to be on your show. And I said it in front of him in the DJ booth. And he picked up my phone and looked at it, and he said, I like that. He put the email in there and said, email me in the morning. And I emailed him in the morning. As soon as I got him, I emailed him, and I didn't hear anything. A month later, I got an email. I remember like yesterday, it was a Thursday. I got an email saying, be at this address in the morning, tomorrow morning. And I'm thinking, and so I'm thinking, they come up on the city or what? And it was a New York address. And I'm thinking, what? Like, and so I was like, I can email them back and go, can we reschedule? Can we figure something else out? I'm in Oklahoma, or I could just make it happen and figure out a way. And so, I did what I had to do and got the money together, and I flew there the next day, and I knew if I didn't do that, I probably wouldn't have got on there, So.
And you were on the show with some other rappers.
Yeah.
You freestyled over a beat with them, right? Who else was on that show?
That day, I think Anthony Anderson came in. Had the big coach was there. There was a guy named I can't remember the guy from New York. But like I was saying before, like kind of leveraging that I'm from Oklahoma. There was a guy from New York that was rapping, and the producers were like Meek Mill and Rick Ross producers, and they were playing the music for us to rap on. And I remember thinking, this dude is dope. He's so much doper than me. He's sick. But he wasn't from Oklahoma. He was a New York rapper. They hear that all the time. And I stood out. They got excited about me because, I was different. I had a different story to tell. They never had a New York, Oklahoma City rapper in there. So, it's just cool. But back to what I was saying is that a lot of rappers, I don't know how it is, a lot of artists and rappers, they don't check emails, they don't respond to emails. You know what I mean? Like they have 4 or 5 different emails to email. And so I've just learned over time to always, if I have my phone in my hand, be checking my emails and making sure that I'm responding to people and getting back to people. If not, right away the same day. So.
Right. Again, so setting yourself apart as someone who's easy to do business with if a business person wants to connect and collaborate, right?
Mm-hmm.
A couple of things. One, I don't know about rap, all right?
John's a rapper over there.
But
you know boys know.
yeah, but listening to you, you sound so humble. You sound so respectful, and that is so appreciated. Genuine, definitely.
Thank you.
And this is a guy that's been called the future of rap music
So
by someone who's important.
you sound like you're determined, and you know where you want to go, you know what you want to do, but you're not pushing so hard that you're making a bad name for yourself. People like you. So with that being said, and you continue to grow, and you're prospering, and you're going in different avenues, restaurants, Tower Theater and such, what are you doing, or what are your thoughts for mentoring the next group of people that want to come up? But doing it the right way, and not being the bad apple, making a name for themselves as a bad apple. Do it the right way, be respectful, be humble, and make it so that everybody really wants to be around you.
I think what I try to do is, like with my friend Tripp and other guys that I'm around that are younger than me, that are just coming up, I try to just, show them how important it is to actually to be a person first and not just a rapper, because I know a lot of the things and a lot of where rap has gotten me, is because I was a person first, and I think that, that's so important, if DD Audio calls me in for a meeting, they're not sitting me down so that, I can rap to them and be this, what I'm saying, and be this character, it's important that, like I said, whenever they wanted to know what I was going to do when I got there, how could, them helping me benefit them in any way, and I could be like, well, shoot, I'm a rapper, you know what I'm saying? But I couldn't do that, so I just tried to let, my friends know that it's just important to be a human being first, and be yourself and be honest, if you work at the mall rap about that. Don't rap about being on a jet and flying with models. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you are, if you had a great life, rap about how blessed you are. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't rap about being in the streets and stuff like that. You've never been there, you know? So it's just that I try to tell them, you know, just be honest, you know, be authentic, be a real person first.
For all of you who are meeting JB for the first time, what you're connected with, what you're reading from him, that's why it was important that he was the person who did this with me tonight. Because he's not just a guy chasing the big paycheck, but he's trying to do something he has passion, that he's had passion for since he was 6 years old.
Very cool.
Thank you guys so much. We've got some door prizes from our friends at DD Audio. They've got some cool, interesting stuff that you guys all are going to have a chance to win, including some of the headphones, which are pretty awesome, and we have some shirts and some hats and souvenirs and some other things too. So, Sean, drag them out. Let's give away some prizes. They're actually wood. Wood plastic. All right. The big prize. We got to figure out how we're going to choose a winner.
Who's got a library card?
Sean, you've done a great. I mean, you guys have done a great job.
I was the first guest.
You were the first guest.
I was.
We've got plenty more though. We've got plenty of in-earbuds, we got hats, we got t-shirts. So JB and I are going to roam around the room and hand out some stuff. Okay. We appreciate you guys coming and listening, especially for interacting, asking questions. And
I do want to say that if you're not lucky enough to win a set of headphones or earbuds, then we have some that you can buy. And we're doing a discount. Those are $99 on our website, so it's $89 today. And the earbuds are $25, and we'll do them at $21. And we have a 10% coupon code if you want to think about it, get a discount later. So, there you go.
thank you to our friends at DD Audio, sponsored this event, bringing in the swag, buying beer and food. Thank you very much for that. Of course, this space is Project 3810. If you guys have questions about the offices, co-working, warehouse, or anything that we do here at Project 3810,
Space for an event.
right, spaces for an event like this, ask Vicky Shaw and myself. We're glad to tell you about that. One more time, Jabee Williams. My name is JB on social media. You guys go buy thousands of them.